Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Monday, the 17th day of July, 2023. I hope you had a great weekend, a safe and healthy weekend, and that your family also was safe and healthy, and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field, along with the first responders who every day are saving lives. Along with those also that pick up garbage for us to keep places clean and disease-free, and those that make deliveries of important things like mail for our convenience. Double blessings upon the men and women that are out here trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover the teenagers and the children that are the unfortunate victims of child molestation and pedophilia. The victims also of prostitution and child prostitution, pornography and child pornography, human trafficking, and sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators of these things, double curses on the profiteers of these things, and double curses on the perverts who create these industries. Finally, double blessings on the homeless. Nearly 600,000 men, women, and children, mostly children, living on the streets of the United States of America, and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. Yesterday, we had a fun, as usual, we had a fun time. Y'all making me laugh like... On the live stream on Sunday, we had a fun time yesterday. And during the course of the live stream, I was mentioning OG Anunoby. Now, he wasn't the initial, I wasn't intending on talking about him. But I mentioned some things yesterday, and I wanted to go into it some more today because we talked about a lot of stuff yesterday, and it might have got lost in the sauce. But I want to explain why the Knicks are in a real strong position here. Okay. And I want to explain why it's so much fun to see Masai Ujiri squirm. So, if you remember excuse me while I sip on some coffee here. If you remember, about 6 months ago, I mentioned that Kristaps Porzingis would probably be leaving Washington. Remember? And I remember saying at the time, the Knicks were a strong possibility. And I told you that the whole thing hinged on one basic premise. Does Kristaps want New York? Remember that? I said, if Kristaps' agent called and told the Don, guess what? KP wants to come back to the Garden. That'd be done. It'd have been a done deal. They'd work it out, whatever ramifications were, whatever trade, whatever. It would have been worked out. But as it turns out, Kristaps wanted Boston. Hey, can't fault him for that. They were in the Eastern Conference Finals, and he's looking at Boston. And like I said, this is what a lot of dudes do. They look at teams like this. See, when they get their money, they want to get that. Once they get their money, they're looking at teams like, okay, if I join this team, can they win a championship? Am I the final piece or one of the last pieces for this team to get a championship? And that's what classic situation with Kristaps Porzingis was. He's looking at Boston now. He could have looked at New York the same way, but Boston was in the ECF last year. They've been pushing that for a couple of years now. So KP is like, you start me at power forward over there, we can go all the way. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But what I'm saying is that's what the rationale was. So what are we talking about now? OG Anunoby. Now, the thing about OG Anunoby is the first premise is the same. The question would be, does OG Anunoby want to come to the Knicks? That's the premise. See, so if, we could talk about all of this and possible trades, but if OG decides, for example, I want to go to Miami, that's it. It's going to get done. Okay? Or if he decides, I want to go to XYZ team that's not the New York Knicks. Okay, then that's where he's going. So this whole conversation that we're about to have and conversations going forward, the premise of our hypothesis, if you will, is OG wants to come to New York. Okay? That's the premise. If OG wants to come to New York, if that's like his preferred destination. Now, a lot of us, are of the mind that this may be his preferred destination. And why? unlike Kristaps Porzingis, OG has changed his agent from Clutch Sports to CAA. And one of the three men that are handling his business for NBA basketball is Leon Rose's relative. I think it's his son. That could be important. So, again, it's not necessarily 100%, but it's a strong possibility. Now, OG Anunoby has all the leverage the same way Kristaps Porzingis had all the leverage. OG Anunoby has 1 year left on his deal. He's getting $18.6 million this coming season. He's getting that regardless, okay? So this coming season, 23-24, he's going to be getting $18.6 million. The question is, what is he going to get after that? You see, this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with extension. So, that's one question. That's the question first and foremost OG is talking about. Okay, OG 25, 18 million is a lot of freaking money. And he got a lot of money in his career, no doubt, no doubt. But he's about to get paid big bag money. And he knows that. So, this is a situation where he decides, do I want to re-sign with Toronto? Or do I want to go as an unrestricted free agent next summer, which he can do. Therefore, if he doesn't sign an extension with Toronto, which at this point he has not. Now, I don't know if Masai hasn't offered it to him, or if he has offered it to him and it's been turned down. Either way, as long as he's not signed on the line that is dotted, he's got all the leverage. So next summer, he has a player option for about $20 million. Does this sound familiar? KP had the same thing, except KP's player option was $30-something million. This brother's option is $20 million. So there is no doubt he's going to decline that option. Okay? He's 26 years old this year. He's entering his prime this year or next year. Now, OG Anunoby has played 6 years in the NBA. Started at age 20, just finished the year at age 25. He averages 60 games a year, a little over 60 games. Let's call it 61 games a year he averages. So somebody might say he's injury prone, right? You know, he's going to miss 20 to 22 games a year. And his game goes like this: is 74, 67, 69, then 43, 48. Now, the 43 was the strike shortened year, if I'm not mistaken. And then you got the 48 and the 67. So every year, pretty much, he misses about 20 games. Okay? So let me first explain to all of you that are going to raise the red flag about him not being available why this is not a problem. First off, if we were to trade, let's say we traded RJ Barrett for OG Anunoby. Let's say we were to do that. And let's say OG is going to miss 20 games. Okay? What does that mean? That means that either Dante DiVincenzo or more likely Emmanuel Quickley will be starting at the 2 guard. And you'd have Quentin Grimes and either Dante or Emmanuel. If we didn't have, in my view, as you might know, I did a video last week, I think the case for IQ and Grimes. If you were starting those two instead of RJ, we'd have been a better team last year, and we'll be a better team this year. So that would be your backup scenario, okay, in that situation. So we have no problem with him missing 20 games. No problem at all, okay? So that being the case, we can deal with him playing 60 games. 36 minutes a game under Tom Thibodeau's system, missing 20, 22 games, no problem. Comes back for the playoffs, we're good to go. Okay, so we don't have a problem with that because we would still have now. Let's take it a step further. Let's say, for example, we unfortunately traded, which I don't want, but let's say we traded Emmanuel Quickley. to Toronto and got OG Anunoby. OG starts at the 3. I'm arguing Grimes will start at the 2 still, because you're not going to get rid of IQ and replace IQ with a non-defender, which is what you'd be doing if you started OG and RJ. You'd still be in the same non-defender situation. And I know those will argue that RJ's better probably at the 2 guard than he is at the 3. I don't know about that. RJ has problems guarding his position. You think he'd be able to guard quicker guys at the 2? I don't know about that. Maybe he overwhelms them on the other side of the floor with his strength, maybe. But if he's shooting like Ray Charles, no, you'd start OG and Grimes and you'd bring RJ off the bench in that scenario. I hope that doesn't happen. But if you did, and then again OG gets hurt, well, you start RJ. You're still good, okay? Or you could still start Quentin Grimes and DiVincenzo. You're still good. So with the injury, I'm addressing he's injury prone question right now. And I'm saying to you that at age 26 and going into 27, going into his prime, first of all, I don't expect him to miss 20 games. I'm thinking in his prime now, 26, 27, 28, 29. I think we're going to get 70 games a year out of him. I think we will. And that's a 12 game he misses. Typical, okay? That's no problem. So we still in good shape. So that's the injury prone situation. On the other side, though, you're getting a guy that for his career shoots 38% from 3, shot 39% from 3 last year, was all defensive team last year. He led the league in steals last year. Can you imagine a lineup with him and Grimes and then DiVincenzo and him and then Hart and him? Yeah, we'd be pretty good. So now, let's talk about the squeeze. Now, Masai Ujiri dogged us good. He dogged us good with, getting Carmelo. He wrecked our team, destroyed what we were building with D'Antoni, and we had to start over again with Melo. It wasn't Melo's fault. It was the Knicks' fault. That's the problem. Then Greenwald later on trades for this dude from Italy that played for Toronto, and we send first round picks for him, and he could barely walk, much less run. I don't even know his name, nor do I want to remember, but Masai Ujiri did it to us again. So it's good to see Masai just lost Fred VanVleet for nothing. Lost him for nothing. He has no point guard. He just gave him up. Oh, yes, he signed Schroeder. I know that. Schroeder is not the Schroeder of 4 years ago. He's a backup now. He's not going to lead you to the promised land. Okay? He's a good backup. That's what they did. They signed a backup. Apparently, Malachi Flynn is disappointing them in Toronto from what I'm reading, what I'm hearing, reports I'm seeing. I like Malachi Flynn coming out of San Diego State. But apparently he hasn't lived up to expectations, so he's not the answer. In their view, he's not the answer at the point. So they need a point guard. Okay. Signing Schroeder ain't getting it done. And so now you got OG Anunoby on the last year of his deal. Siakam's on the last year of his deal. Okay. Siakam's on the last year of his deal. And then you got, you just signed Podol to a new deal. Gary Trent Jr. is in the last year of his deal. Scotty Barnes, now you got him as your young piece. He's got 2 more years left on his rookie deal. You got to make a move. You just lost Fred VanVleet for nothing. So, Masai Ujiri, as great as he's been, cannot afford to lose OG Anunoby for nothing. Okay? So he must either re-sign him or get something for him. If he does not re-sign OG Anunoby, let's say by the trade deadline, he's going to have a world of problems, because by the trade deadline, the whole NBA knows he's about to be a unrestricted free agent. And nobody's going to trade for him then, because they could wait and get him for nothing. So That means, and that will be the case, that means Masai has got to either trade OG Anunoby and get something for him between now and training camp, or re-sign him. Okay? One or the other. He's got to either trade OG Anunoby and get something for him by training camp this summer, or re-sign him. Because if he gets past training camp and you're waiting to the trade deadline, nobody's going to make a move. Everybody's going to wait. Okay? So, number one, go back to the original question. What does OG want? If he doesn't want to re-sign in Toronto, and he's not saying anything, which is smart. That's what you want to do. You don't want to say, and you want to, if you're a player, the smartest players, unlike like a guy like Durant, they don't make their wants, desires known. They all back channels. And he ain't said nothing. So now, if you're Masai Ujiri and you made offers or overtures to OG and you ain't hearing nothing, you must make the assumption he wants to leave. You have to make that assumption. You can't sit there hoping, like some people are hoping, like in 2 years, Donovan Mitchell might be available, or Luka Doncic in 2 years. That sounds like LeBron 2010. Y'all should have learned your lesson from that already. You make moves now, get what you can get now and build off it. Don't worry about what's going to happen in 2 years with somebody that's not even here, you're not even sure is interested in you, okay? So he can't assume if OG does not respond to an offer, you must assume he wants to leave. Therefore, you must trade him. Then comes the situation of, okay, what can you get for him? That's the next logical question. So he's not responding to you. He's not saying nothing. You must assume he wants to leave. So now, okay, what can I get for him? See, OG holds the cards. So now, the only leverage you got is between now and October. That's the only leverage you got. So you got to make your move. So now you start to search the NBA. What can I get for OG? That's when your phone calls are being made, which is happening, I believe, right now. What can I get for OG Anunoby? What do you want from Sacramento? What do you want for him, XYZ team? What do you want for OG Anunoby? What are you willing to give me for OG? So then, let's say he has a 4-team list that are offering stuff that he likes. Masai said, okay, I got 4 teams that are offering stuff that sound good for OG Anunoby. Then OG Anunoby sends this back to you. You can get whatever you can, but let those teams know I'm not signing with them an extension. Except one, if he's choosing the Knicks, I'll only sign an extension with the Knicks. If that's the case, now Masai's got to deal with New York. He's still going to talk to other teams and see if they'll be willing to take the risk of taking OG Anunoby like a used car salesman. Will you take the risk and get this 500 Mercedes-Benz S-Class with 175,000 miles on it and give me top dollar? It'll work for another 200,000 miles, I guarantee you. That's what you're going to have to sell. Sacramento, you can win a chip if you get OG. And if you win the chip, he'll re-sign with you. You got to convince them. And now they have to decide, do we do this 1-year rental? Because OG's already said he's not going to re-sign with us. And you know what? This is the thing about the NBA, y'all. In the back channels, news travels fast, y'all. News travels fast. The moment it's known in the back channels that I'm using Sacramento as an example. I'm not saying he's going to Sacramento. I like to use one team as an example. He's not going to re-sign with Sacramento. Sacramento's offering 3 number 1s and Harrison Barnes, and they're offering all kind of assets for OG, but he's not going to re-sign with them. Now everybody knows. Okay, Okay, so now Masai, if nobody bites, he has to come back to the Don. And of course, he's going to come back with a very high price. I need 4 number ones, 3 unprotected. I need RJ, I need IQ, and I need Grimes. Or some stupidness like that. Then the Don's going to do what he did last summer. Call me when you're serious. Call me back when you're serious, when you're really ready to talk. Because he knows OG got the leverage. OG wants New York. The Don's in the driver's seat. Telling you how this is going. So, this is again all contingent if OG wants New York. If he does, he's coming to New York. There's no doubt. The only question is what the final cost is and what the Don will do. Notice what he did last year. He will draw it out and he will wait because he knows. He knows the player wants him. So he will draw it out and he will wait and he will wait and he will wait till then he'll tell Masai, listen, unfortunately, we cannot come to an agreement. So we'll have to come back and revisit this at the trade deadline. Which I said before, nobody's going to move. So that's the squeeze that OG has on Masai. And by extension, if OG wants New York, that the Don has on Masai. So again, I just want to reiterate, the whole thing hinges on does OG want New York? If he does, everything I just said is happening. Everything I just said is happening. If he wants New York, okay? And a guy like OG Anunoby that's from England, he's from England, So he's used to the London style. And Toronto's a beautiful city. Don't get me wrong. It's a beautiful city. But I'm going to tell you what. He don't want Oklahoma City. I'm going to tell you that. He don't want Charlotte. He ain't looking for no small market. Okay? He's CAA. And he going to want a big market. So I'm telling y'all, watch this closely because, yes, OG would fit perfectly with the Knicks. He is not a superstar. Some of y'all keep staying on this Mark Berman, got to get a blockbuster deal done. We passed that. The Knicks are now a playoff contending team, okay? They're in the beginning stage of long-term sustainable winning right now. So we're past that. Get the blockbuster done. What we need is that piece that gets us into the ECF. And with the addition of Dante, to the bench, and now the maturation, and some of y'all still don't understand that development part. Grimes is going to be better this year. Okay? IQ is going to be better. Mitchell Robinson's going to be better. They're all going to improve. RJ is going to be better. They're all going to improve. Or at least you hope. The degree of improvement, we'll see. But they're all going to improve. Okay? So you're going to see a maturation in the youngins that we drafted. And they're all going to be better. And then you just added a Dante DiVincenzo. Don't add a OG Anunoby to that mix. That's going into his prime. Now, the price for OG Anunoby is going to be probably, I'm going to guess, 4 years between 140 and 160 million. That's going to be the price for him. It's going to be 4 years between 140 and 160 million dollars. That's going to be his price. Okay. The thing is, it sounds like a lot of money. Well, it is a lot of money. But the thing is, what you must understand is when the new deal starts to hit in 2 years, the new TV deal is going to be minuscule. All the Knicks salaries in 2 years are going to be minuscule compared to what guys are getting. This particular year, for example, you're going to see Jalen Brunson sign for at least $290 million. You already saw Halliburton sign for $260 million. You saw Desmond Bane sign for $207 million. And I'm going to tell you, Desmond Bane is really good. I wanted him on the Knicks. But he ain't that much better, if at all better, than OG Anunoby. Okay? I would say they're at least the same. So if you could get OG Anunoby for between 140 and 160, you got a bargain. Okay, you got a real value right there. So that's what we're about to find out. Brethren, it's going to be interesting. And I'm telling you, this summer is going to be interesting. I'm not even dealing with, I don't know what they're going to do with Evan Fournier. They may include him in the deal if they're sending IQ to, they'd include Fournier if they're sending IQ to Toronto, which I hope they don't. They'd be including Evan Fournier. If they're sending RJ, no, they don't need to include Evan Fournier. Okay, they can just get that done and do something else with Evan Fournier. But I'm not worried about Evan Fournier. But the fact that he's still on the roster means that there's still moves that are going to be made. How big those moves are, we don't know. But this OG, depending on, are they sending IQ? Because I would, if I'm Masai Ujiri, I want IQ. I don't want RJ. RJ makes the better story. He's from Canada. He'd sell a lot of tickets. He's young. So he'd fit. I think he'd be, he'd be all right next to Scotty Barnes and Siakam, right? But IQ be my point guard for the next 10 years. Let's see. We'll see. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be an interesting next 60 days, brethren. Buckle up. Enjoy your Monday. Shalom.